Welcome back to Moms Like Us. If you're just joining us, I'm Jamie. This is my wife, Lisa. And this week, we're going to be talking all about the ups and downs of IVF.
Yeah, IVF definitely for us was a huge emotional roller coaster with limited resources for us. So we're excited to be able to share our journey with you and then also help anybody out there that may be going through IVF or plan to go through IVF in the future.
Yeah, so if you're thinking about starting the process of building a family like ours as a two-mom family, or you're dealing with fertility struggles and you are potentially, going to be doing IVF, then this podcast episode is probably for you.
Yep, and I will grab some Kleenex because it definitely was a journey. So let's get into it, sugar. Give me a kiss.
Okay. Oh, that's right. You want to mess up the microphone. You got to be careful.
Got that lip gloss.
All right, so we have two kids, right? So
Yes.
we've done. So our first round of IVF was, and Carmela's birthday is August 2019, and we started a year before that. So we started summer 2018. From there, we will go through the process, but we had Carmela.
Yep.
2 years later, we ended up having Francesco. And do you want to share some exciting news?
What exciting news.
Such an ass. And we're also currently pregnant.
And we're pregnant.
And not only are we pregnant, but apparently we're
pregnant
very good at
with...
this, but we're pregnant with two.
Hold up your cards.
Like
Not
this,
one,
two. Okay.
but two. So we're expecting... We're expecting twins.
Can't believe it.
We're expecting twins.
Yeah.
I can't believe it either. I think the
know.
more I say it,
It's
the
like
more
still
it's
like so surreal, even though I've been feeling like complete shit.
I
It
know.
still feels not
You've
real.
been having a hard time. We're expecting twins, babe.
Yeah.
So this is about to be a team of 6.
Yeah, so IVF is very fresh on our minds right now.
That's right. And we're literally in the middle of it.
Yeah, the
Going
twins
through
we
it.
had, right, we didn't even graduate from the fertility doctor yet. Friday, today's Wednesday. Friday is our last appointment where we graduate, and then we get discharged to our regular OB.
Yeah.
So all of this is very fresh in our brains, although I still remember every single thing that we went through with Carmela, who was born in 2019.
Yeah.
So let's talk about our first IVF cycle. So that was with Carmela. Do you remember the excitement and the nerves and what was going through your mind when we first started this entire journey?
When we first started this entire journey, it was, what are the steps? We figured out I would go first because I'm older.
Right.
What do I have to do? I have to put a needle in my stomach. What? Like just
it was like a whole new
everything
language,
was
right?
completely brand new.
Yes.
And those are my thoughts. It's like, what are the steps? Because you just picture having the baby, but there's so much before. And luckily for our first one, Carmela, we were very naive and innocent and just excited and joyful. But there was so much unknown. You know, but we approached it with all really good attitude too.
So the first step was that we went to the fertility clinic. We planned to go to a few until we found a doctor that we felt comfortable with.
Yeah.
But we ended up falling in love with the first doctor we met. It was like a match.
Yep.
Made
It
in
was
heaven.
on International Women's Day when I said, let's just go. We said in our last episode, let's just go get my eggs checked just to see.
Yep.
And then when you get your eggs checked, you're like, oh God. And then how many are left? What's going on? Oh, this really happens. I feel young, but you're losing eggs here. So like you also realize that your body is changing, you know?
That's true.
I think I was 33.
I have no idea.
I know, right? We're not
I
going to
have
math
no
as we
idea.
know. So I think I was 33. So yeah, I did that. That was the first step.
Yeah, and then they gave us some instructions on looking for a sperm donor.
Yes.
Right? So
and that process I remember vividly.
So we could talk a little bit about that process. So there's like a few major cryobanks.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people that went a different route and went with a known donor. For us, we decided to go for a cryobank. We didn't want to know our sperm donor.
No. We just wanted.
There were some things we knew going into it. We knew we wanted to get as much sperm as we can get because we wanted all of our children. At that time, we wanted like 5 or 6.
I also didn't want a donor that would be repeating the process. And I like the fact that when we found our donor, it said there will be no more vials available after that. But we'll go into how we found our donor and stuff.
So then
that was important.
There's two like bigger cryobanks. What is that other one called? Virginia Cryobank?
There's Fairfax.
Fairfax.
Yep.
And then California Cryobank.
I want to go into the story of really what that was like for us when we were on the computer.
Well, yeah, I was getting to that.
Because that's like, man, I've just pictured that right away when you started talking about Virginia
Wow.
and
Isn't
all
it
those
amazing
certain
how like
guys and
bring
everything.
you right back? Oh.
Yeah. So we saw how many eggs I had.
Okay.
Then we learned about cryobanks.
Yes.
We logged into the first one.
It's like online dating, but times 1,000. Which, by the way, we never like online dating got popular once we were already together. So we both have some regret that we didn't get to do it. So this
I know.
was like
I
our
always
own.
wanted to swipe. I actually think we just try to like swipe, see what it's like for a day.
So,
but people say it's not what it's.
yeah,
It's cracked
I
up
don't know.
to
I
be,
don't think we would like it. I don't think I would like it. My confidence would be like way down. It'd be so hard.
Why?
I don't know. I would get so. I don't know. I don't like that stuff.
You don't like that stuff.
I don't like that stuff. All right. Anyway.
All right. So anyway, is it Carmela?
No, I thought so. It was a few texts in a row, but I think it's just like another crazy mom group chat.
Okay. All right. So anyway, we logged into Virginia Fairfax.
Okay.
And we realized quickly that
isn't that where you lived when you lived in California?
Yep.
Is that a town?
Fairfax. Yep. Exactly.
Okay. So are we sure it's called Fairfax, or you just?
No, it's
okay.
Fairfax. Fairfax
yeah,
district,
probably
or whatever. Yeah. So anyway, we were on the computer and we quickly realized that we wanted to see adult photos of the babies, and we narrowed it down.
Let's say why. So initially we'd be like, oh look.
I know,
so
but there'd be people out there that didn't look at adult photos.
Well, it's not my problem.
Okay.
We would look at pictures of these cute little babies, and then some of them, like let's say there was 500 available, maybe like 50 had an adult photo available. We'd be like, oh, look at this cute kid. Then we'd click the adult photo and be like, oh my goodness, that's not what I was expecting.
It's okay if you don't have adult photos for your child. They're gonna be great and beautiful.
But for us, it was just whatever. So for us, I guess it was superficial.
I think it's the first picture we clicked. So what happened was we looked at this baby picture. We loved it, loved the personality. Oh, there's adult photo. And then we were a little traumatized after that. So what happened was we said we got to get adult photos. So it went from a 500 match search to 32 or whatever, if that.
It was really small.
And how did we try to match it? I don't know. We tried to have dark hair and blue eyes. Did we even do that?
I think we started with superficial things, right?
Yes.
Like picture,
very superficial
hair color,
things,
eye color. And that brought the pull down a lot.
Yeah.
And then from there, once we narrowed it down, then we would start to read the about
more
me.
about the person.
It really is like online dating. They tell you so much information, but it's like tenfold. So they tell you all the health history, even up to their cousins, mom, dad, grandparents.
I know more about the donor
siblings.
than I do you.
Yeah, no, it's true.
I think it's a legality thing now too, because back in the day, it just used to just be.
Yeah, they have all their blood work. We know like what they have a family history of. They even answer live interview questions. So like kind of like this. They'll be like, "Oh, so tell me about."
You hear their voice.
Who would you if you could pick one person in the whole world, like who would you want to have dinner with, right?
Yeah.
Like that was like a question on ours.
For the first cryobank, though, we thought we were on the couch looking, and something didn't feel right. And we were looking and looking, and some of these guys were Harvard, Stanford. One was, I'll never forget the pilot. I'll never forget the pilot. Anyway, we didn't emotionally. We gave up just looking or feeling like, let's look for the superficial things. We wanted to feel something. And I'll never forget, we were drinking wine on the great couch and closed the computer. And then I just was very sad. And I shared with you, and you started to feel it too, that even though I know we cannot make a baby together, I know that it was very sad realizing that we would never be able to combine our genes. And even though you know it, it still is very sad when you realize like how many people also take that for granted, like, oh, she has your eyes. And even though our kids somehow kind of look like the both of us, but
so
it's realistically
true.
Not a combination of both of us, even though mentally and through our law of attraction work, we think it is. We think we made Francesco and Carmela have blue eyes. The donors have blue eyes. Anyway.
Speaking of that, though, I love when strangers would be like, oh my gosh, your son looks exactly like
both
you.
Of the embryos
and I'm like,
through my eggs.
I know, he really does, right? He has my eyes.
He has
my
like me at all.
By the way, so
it's very hard.
I don't think we said that yet, right?
No.
So the way we had our kids was actually something called reciprocal IVF,
right?
In vitro fertilization.
And then we'll tell you how we found the donor, though, too.
Which means that I carried Lisa's egg.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, I was your surrogate. I was
basically, yeah. But every night I would lay on your belly and I would visualize Carmela having blue eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they both came out.
We have to start that for these girls.
Yeah.
Our babies are girls.
Yeah,
by the
our
way.
babies are girls. Francesco is going to be definitely the man of the
this
house
poor
for
little
sure.
boy.
So
Identical girls.
yeah, identical twins. So anyway, so we accepted the fact that we weren't going to be able to make kids together, and we kind of got frustrated. Then we signed on for California Cryobank.
Mm-hmm.
We looked again, and we experienced the same feeling. We didn't have that gut feeling. Some of these guys look perfect on paper,
Yeah.
but we didn't have that feeling like this
Yeah.
is going to build our family.
Yeah. It's a really hard choice.
Then we made a promise to each other that we weren't going to look. We're going to take some time off. Never forget, I was upstairs in our office.
I'll
I said,
never
you know
forget
what?
this either.
Let me just pop on and look. And we bought the level. If you're going to do this, you got to spend the money. Cut out Starbucks. Cut out your Netflix. Spend
Buy
the money.
membership.
Yes, to get the full membership for everything. I mean, you're building a family, right? Your family. The donor's just an added piece. And we'll get into, what we call that. It was just a donor. That's it. We don't use the word dad or baby daddy or father. I hear some two mom families say that in the past, and it bothers me very, very much because it takes you need to give yourself more credit because it takes a very, very certain person to earn that title of father or mother or dad.
That drives us nuts,
So please do not use that term. Bothers me.
Yeah, it bothers me
Take
too.
your power. It's your kid. Anyway, I get into that. So I said, let me just log on and look, and I saw this one picture pop up. I won't say the number, but I know the number. And I looked at the picture of his adult photo.
Wait, did you say that you weren't supposed to be doing this without me?
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to do. Oh, we made a promise we weren't going to look without each other. And then I logged in, and
you
I
logged in
had
when
a
I was
look.
at work, even though we said we were only doing it together.
Something told me. I have really, my gut feelings always,
So
know.
And you saw a new
And
donor
I saw it,
alert.
and I saw he was born the year my dad died. And just a lot of things I felt. It wasn't about the looks, even though he was good looking, great personality.
Yeah, good health history. Played like 7 instruments.
Played all this, and that was extra stuff, but I felt it.
Oh, he
and
was the salutatorian of his high school?
Yeah,
That was
because
a
we
good one.
weren't. We don't even know how to do math. And then I called you, and Jamie, I was like, Jamie, don't be pissed. She was at work.
So now I'm like on the phone, right? If
You were
you're
living in
watching
our
on
townhouse at
YouTube,
the
you'll
time.
see. I'm like on the phone and I'm like
Pissed.
typing, and I'm like, you told me. And
Pissed.
as I'm like yelling
Staten
at you, I'm
Island
like
accent
typing.
comes out.
Yeah, I'm like typing to log in as I'm yelling at you on the phone, and then I stop talking.
Yeah, you stopped talking right when you saw the picture because you knew this was it. This was going to build our family, and that's it.
Yeah, and I
this
felt
was
the
the
same
missing
thing, which
piece,
was like
and that's
amazing.
it. Yeah, so then you could go from there. So we got our donor.
So we got the donor. You have to.
And there were like certain amount of vials left because he wasn't doing it again, and I like that.
So we bought the rest. That were available.
Yep.
I think there was like 6 available.
Yeah, you have to buy a certain amount. You have to buy vials.
Yeah, so like you usually when you do an IUI cycle, so there's reasons why we didn't do IUI first, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
But when you're doing an IUI cycle, you usually need to use an entire vial.
IUI is where
IVF,
they use a catheter to try to monitor. They monitor when you're ovulating, and they use a catheter and
put the
sperm
right where it should be to help
exactly
hopefully make an embryo inside your belly. But the reason why we didn't do that is because Lisa's older than me, and we wanted to do your egg first, right?
Yeah.
So that's why we chose to do reciprocal IVF the first time.
Right.
So for IVF, you sometimes could shave off some of the sperm from the vial and use part of it. Sometimes doctors say you need to use the whole thing. It all depends. But we just wanted to make sure we had as much as we needed to be able to get pregnant, right?
Right.
Okay. So then after that, finally, we said in the last episode, one day Lisa finally, like 6 months later, was like, okay, I'm ready to have a baby.
Yep.
We started the IVF process. It took, I think, about...
And I did IVF, I think it was about 2 weeks.
Yeah. So this is for the egg retrieval.
The egg retrieval,
That portion is like about 2 weeks long.
So I put shots in my stomach, all these things. I was looking up all these YouTube. I was scared mainly to be honest with you, superficial reasons. I didn't want to gain weight. I just didn't want to gain weight. I was worried about my moods because when it's that time of the month, I got a lot better, but I used to be crazy.
Hormones are really such a real thing.
No, so I was worried about that. I wasn't worried about it not working or me not being able to. I never thought something would be bad, ever.
Do you remember that first moment, though, getting in with the needle and the very first time you have to inject yourself?
Yeah, we were in Cape May.
We were in Cape May
for my mother's birthday.
Like staying in an Airbnb.
And everybody's drinking wine and partying. Our families are wildcats, and I was upstairs like, oh my gosh, with the little case with the zipper. What am I doing? I'm gonna stab myself.
And I love you, but sometimes you could be a little dramatic.
I
and
know,
so
I'm
something like that
dramatic.
is like
definitely a
Precious
little baby
little
dramatic.
baby. Yeah.
All right, so whatever.
Okay, so now
like
2 weeks that, then we get to the
that's it.
retrieval. They retrieve your eggs, and then sometimes they get like, they take out however many are mature. So I don't know, maybe let's just say there was like 8 eggs that were mature.
Yeah.
They take the mature eggs and they put it with a sperm.
Yep.
In a peach-free dish.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then they see how many fertilize into embryos. Then they watch them grow. So I think you had like maybe, I don't know. I actually don't remember the exact numbers. Let's just say it was 5 that made it to embryos. Then you have to see how many survive to day 5.
Oh, 8. And then, yes. And then I had...
Maybe they all fertilized.
And then
maybe 7 fertilized, and then maybe
5
5 made it to day 5.
Yes, so 5.
So you may or may not choose to do genetic testing.
Which I highly recommend that you
highly
do
recommend.
genetic
It increases
testing.
your success rates by an insane
But if you're
amount.
spending all of this time and effort, you just spend, I think it was $1,500 to
worth it.
figure it out, just to get them tested, because
We didn't even talk about how our insurance didn't cover it because of we're a same-sex couple.
Yeah.
That sucked.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah. But we figured it out, and we didn't have all the money in the world then.
We put it on credit cards.
We put it on credit cards.
Carmela's a credit card.
Carmela's a credit card. We put it on no interest credit cards,
Yeah.
and we're gonna make the payments.
Yeah.
That's how we figured it out.
Forgot
man.
about
We didn't
that.
have the money to do.
No, it was like
know?
$30,000 in total, right? Wasn't it?
But it was worth it, And then just go about So anyway, so we sent it away for genetic testing. 2 came back.
2 came back. And when they do genetic testing, they tell you if it's a normal embryo.
Mm-hmm.
And they also tell you the gender.
Yep.
Right? So we had 1 boy and 1 girl. We transferred that 1 girl, which is now Carmela. So
into Jamie. So Jamie then.
Oh, so now let's skip to the next part.
We prepped your body with all those shots.
It took about 2 months to prep for the transfer. So we did a frozen embryo transfer. So it starts with like doing a few weeks of birth control just to stabilize your hormones. Then you start with the estrogen.
Stabilize your hormones.
You slowly build yourself up with the estrogen, and then they introduce the progesterone, and there's some other stuff in between. But those are like the main components. And then they do the transfer. We also did acupuncture because that increases the success rates as well.
Yep.
And it worked. And it was such a crazy blessing that we had such a smooth ride.
Smooth ride for the first one, absolutely.
And not only that, but I tested like 4 days post-transfer, which is very early. I did a home test.
Yeah.
And I saw a line, and I was able to like surprise you because you had no idea. I told you I wasn't going to test at home.
Yeah, yes, I remember he surprised me.
That was so nice.
With the balloons, and I was building my
You came
my
home,
second
I had balloons and onesies
facility.
and books. Oh my God, it was the
I was
best
covered
feeling.
in paint and sheetrock and
So honestly, it was very easy getting pregnant.
It
with
was.
Carmela.
It was for the first time.
Oh, here's another thing.
Second
when
time.
we first started
very
going
different
for the monitoring, I remember we walked in like, we're gonna go get pregnant now.
It was
and
no
we walked in,
question.
and everybody in the waiting room was like,
it was no question.
And it really hit us that for us, this is us trying to get pregnant for the first time, and for everybody else in the room, they've been struggling to get pregnant for at least a year.
We were the only gay couple there.
Yeah, in the room. Now I see some other gay couples. This time I forgot to tell you I did.
Yeah.
But
then we
one
were
out of the
but
whole
then
room
we
that
were
was
the only
packed.
one, and it was straight couples. And I understand now because of what happened on our second, round, the sadness that they were feeling.
Yes.
I don't feel bad that we ever walked in there with joy though, because we were joyful. And
I know.
and I want to
feel
say
bad
that
for
we weren't
other people.
obnoxious, like woo, yoo-hoo. We knew we were just smiling between ourselves.
Yeah.
And I want to always cherish that moment because that's what we were feeling in that
And
moment.
look how smooth everything went. We had like
Yeah,
this good
everything was
energy about it, and
smooth,
everything
yeah.
was like easy breezy.
Second kid, we'll fast forward a little bit so
Okay,
we don't.
so then
Francesco.
I'm going to be a little bit TMI,
Mm-hmm.
but after I had Carmela, I pumped for her because she didn't latch, so I pumped for her for like 9 months.
Yeah.
When I stopped pumping, I never got my period back, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there's like no confirmation of this, but we feel like that started the whole slew of issues that happened after that.
Yeah.
That was like around during COVID
And then you
too.
were all messed up with your hormones.
I was so
and
messed up.
your moods.
Oh, thank you, Lisa.
And the that bloat that you
I was
were
getting weird things. I was going to
She was not the
gastros.
same. You were not the same.
I was like going to all these doctors
Physically.
trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
I was like gaining weight, and I was like I was eating really good.
Yeah.
I was running
And
weight
that's
training.
really hard. Like, that was really hard. Like, another thing that people don't tell you about two mom relationships is you kind of know what your partner's feeling, because it's like, I get that once a month, but like on a different level, and I feel released when I know I'm getting my period and it's done. I could only imagine, but I didn't at that time. I didn't have the capability to really empathize with you, because I was so just
I want to say we were young
parent
too,
and young,
like,
but
naive.
I just, if I could give anybody advice that is, you are a two-mom family and you're building it, is when your partner's struggling, you got to just kind of swallow it and try to really put yourself in their shoes. I didn't do that with our first kid. And I hope you see that I've grown since then.
Yeah, I would say Francesco was
emotional
50-50, and this pregnancy is definitely the best.
I'll always take care of you, but I'm sorry that, I didn't realize what you were going through.
It was really
not having your period and
that.
Getting, puffy now. Getting that bullet. So it's not for real. So partners out there, make sure it's not easy, especially doing IVF and especially
also postpartum, like, because when I stopped nursing, then all my hormones were trying to level out. So it's like,
then I
was depressed.
We moved to the house during COVID, and we were doing renovations. We were having it tough.
Crazy.
We were
did a lot of stupid shit.
We were fighting.
We're very impulsive.
And that's the thing with us. Like, we don't post pictures on Instagram and say we're the perfect couple, because we have great moments, but we're doing this podcast because we really have gone through it, but we fought for each other, and we still will, because we know that we're each other's person. But those times are very, very hard. Very hard. So if I could give my younger self any advice with my wife being pregnant, is shut your mouth. You don't have to be right. Yeah. Don't have the last word. It's a different chapter. And just because they're feeling this right now doesn't mean that they're going to either talk to you. I always had this thing like, don't treat me like that. Don't treat me like that. Don't talk to me like that. Like I used to.
You thought that meant I was going to
be like that forever. Yeah. And I was going to be in this marriage. You watch all these movies. You're in this marriage and like this, like. I now know.
You thought I wanted you to be some sort of yes man.
I know. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I'm very like strong in my opinion. So I was, but if I could give my younger self any advice, just know that it's not, that's, give your wife grace, So, okay. So Francesco was,
we planned to do IUI for Francesco's pregnancy.
What was going to be your egg?
IUI.
Yeah.
Because we were going to use my egg.
Right.
And then my fertility doctor was like, it's okay if you're not cycling. She kind of thought it was like my body fat percentage was low for me because I wasn't that thin.
Right.
But she thought for me and my body type, maybe that's why I'm not getting my period, kind of like a gymnast doesn't get their period in high school.
Yep.
Because they're active and whatever. And so she's like, I can get you to ovulate anyway. So, but then she wasn't able to. So for months, we were trying these different protocols. And because I wasn't cycling, we weren't trying once a month with your cycle. I was trying something new every week. So for months and months and months, we would like, oh my gosh, look, it looks like I'm going to ovulate. And then I wouldn't. Then I would regress and go backwards. And so eventually, after many months of doing that, she's like, actually, I think we need to move to IVF because this has been very unsuccessful. I can't get you to ovulate. I don't know what's going on.
Right.
So then we moved to IVF. I did one round.
Yeah.
And I was so mentally done at this point. It was going to be
the, oh, yes. Okay.
I was so mentally done at this point because my body just kept failing me.
There were so many drugs in you.
It was horrible. I just wanted to clean my system, right?
Yeah.
So then we did a round of IVF and all my embryos came back abnormal. And I'm like,
I didn't know you were younger than me, and we didn't expect
6 years younger than you. Thank you. I should have had perfect little embryos.
Yeah, but we didn't expect it, and that was a wake up call, man. That was like, this is going to be a different journey, but
and we really felt part of our what everyone else went through, didn't we?
Yes, and I'm glad because now we have a different level of like gratitude and also empathy for people that struggle.
Yeah.
It's like we had to,
hard.
or else we would have just been like these people that like, oh, this was so easy. IVF was easy. Like, no, I'm very glad that we went through all that and it made us stronger.
I can't say I'm glad, but now we ended up with Francesco. So for
that's why I'm glad. And we've talked about this before, and I know it was very hard, but his soul and him as a person, he wouldn't be here.
Literally.
He was supposed to be here. Well, whoever he is reincarnated, like he really was supposed to be here. His energy is perfect for the type of family that we have. So that's why I say glad,
So, okay. So then after I had that poor cycle, I looked at you and I was like, I need a break. I don't want to do anything else right now. Like I'm so mentally tapped, physically tapped. I need to break from all this medication. I really want you to do another round of IVF. And what was your response to that?
Did you say that you put the other...
Didn't you do it? You did a transfer first, I think.
You put the boy that was with Carmela
before
in.
you did another round of IVF?
Yes.
You ended up doing like 3 more.
You put another.
Okay, so before I asked you to do another round of IVF, I said I don't want to do another one.
Just put the boy that we have in.
Yeah.
And the boy just didn't take, or was that the DNC?
That was the miscarriage.
That was the miscarriage. So we put the boy that was made with Francesco, and we had the miscarriage.
Yeah.
And that was hard.
It was like
that
closer,
was the DNC.
It was like around those. Yeah, I had to do DNC, but it was like closer to like the
DNC
12 weeks.
is basically you had the embryo in you, right? It was in you.
Do you remember all this?
Yes, and you had to get it removed. And
yeah, that's what DNC is.
Pregnant. We heard the heartbeat. And the worst thing with this was it was COVID. You FaceTimed me.
Oh my God.
You FaceTimed me.
Wait,
just
go back.
to. Okay,
so finally,
sorry.
that whole entire. By the way, all of this was COVID. All of it. So all those months and months and months and years that I was doing all this that was failing, I did all by myself. You stayed home with Carmela, and I woke up. You go to the doctor's office early in the morning, and I did everything by myself. And every time I got this bad news, I was always doing it by myself. Eventually, we transferred this other little embryo that was.
And
it
was taken. It was going.
And it took but I didn't feel good.
She didn't feel right. She
From
just
the very
kept saying,
beginning,
like, I didn't have that.
I remember I went in and I got my blood work for my first beta, which is like when they check your HDG level, blood work to tell you if you're pregnant or not pregnant. I knew I was pregnant because I peed on a stick. But as she's taking my blood work, I mentioned this to her recently, actually. I said, do you remember that I said this? Why did I know that? I said, what are the chances that like my numbers won't double, or like even though I'm pregnant, like what are the chances that this won't
just your intuition.
stay? I knew it. I knew something was wrong in my gut, in my soul.
I believe it.
I do believe I'm very intuitive because I also knew
instincts don't lie, just like the Limitless tagline.
This time I got my blood work and I'm
like,
I think it's twins.
I know, you knew it.
Yeah, I'm very intuitive. So
then you went for the appointment, and you've had
almost
FaceTime.
12 weeks. Around 12-week mark is. They didn't discharge us as early as usual because my numbers actually weren't looking good. They didn't stay strong.
And I was
and we
trying
did
to be
see a
positive
heartbeat like 3-4 times. And then the last time I was there by myself.
And I want to
you.
just jump in real quick because the numbers weren't good, I remember. And you knew something was off.
Yeah.
And here's another thing with our relationship that hopefully could help others. You knew something was off with your numbers and the pregnancy being okay. And you didn't feel joyful about it, and I was trying to be positive. And because of that, we started battling a little bit, and we started arguing. Why are you being negative? You're going to why are you being positive? You know what I'm saying? Like that too.
And I was pregnant, so my hormones were crazy. So now I felt something. That was hard.
Yep. And that just so things that people don't talk about that trigger arguments. And
we had another poor little baby that was, 2 years old at the time when we really.
But how much we learned from that, truthfully, So you were right at the end of the day. You went into for that last scan, and I couldn't go, but I was on FaceTime.
We were supposed to get discharged that day.
We were supposed to get discharged.
I shouldn't even talk about that because we're getting discharged on Friday.
But everything's fine. They're pumping. They're moving. We know it's done. But anyway, you did go in. Besides whatever day it was, you did go in. And I was on FaceTime, and
I immediately knew it because
you
could see the flicker before they put the Doppler.
And sure enough, there was no heartbeat, nothing, and that was hard because she's there, I'm separate. She has to drive home, and it was fucked up, But
that was horrible.
I love you. We got through it. We have our son.
Wait, and then because then all my hormones started crashing, because I stopped, and they were all leveling out. that was very traumatic.
I know.
I know it's traumatic for you too. But I was so mad at my body. And
then you also had to get it
removed.
removed.
We were fighting a lot after that, actually.
I know, but I feel bad because I shouldn't have been, even battling
stop feeling so bad
back.
for yourself. It's fine. I mean, we live and we learn, but
I feel like I was so young, too.
I feel that way, too. I feel like we were both young.
Even though it was a couple years before you. Whatever, we're learning. You know what? We do grow because we put in the work to grow.
The best thing about our relationship is that we literally work on growing individually and together every day.
Yeah.
Anyway, so now after that, I said, "Fuck that." That's when I said.
And then I had the conversation with you. I was like, "Do you want to? Does it matter to you? It has to matter." It mattered a lot to me that she has genetically a baby that goes to the same donor, but it didn't matter to you. But I kept thinking, it has to matter to you. It has to matter to you. Why does it matter to you? Remember, I kept saying, this is important to me.
And I said it didn't. I would look at our daughter Carmela and I'd be like, I held her for 9 months.
But we did have those conversations.
I fed her with my body.
Yeah.
And you couldn't grasp that because you didn't do it. So you didn't know. You're like, but I'm looking at Carmela and I always wondered, does she have my eyes? Does she have my brain? Does she have my
I don't think she has anything.
And I don't feel that way, but I couldn't describe that to you, and it took a few years for you to accept it.
I know.
You used to be like,
all right.
fine, I'll do another round of IVF if you promise you're going to do it in a few years. I knew I never wanted to do it again.
I just never wanted to feel like I was taking something from you.
And you weren't.
You know,
you did several more rounds of IVF. We got a few more babies.
I did a bunch of rounds because we wanted a boy.
Yeah, we had a few failed transfers. Eventually, we got pregnant with Francesco.
We ended up getting
He
our
wouldn't
boy.
have been here if you didn't do those additional rounds of IVF. And he's perfect for our family now.
He wasn't the shots that I was doing in Fire Island during Diva Dodgeball, though. He wasn't those shots. I was in Fire Island doing shots. I was like a professional at this point.
Yeah.
But I didn't give
we
a
did it
shit.
so many times.
Yeah. So then Francesco was born.
Having a failed transfer sucks because it takes so long.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just met a girl the other day that, said she had a failed transfer.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because it's
hard.
like 2 to 2.5 months of prep time. And now you have to wait another.
I don't think you should really ever give up though until you really feel that.
Because look at us, we wouldn't have had a perfect little boy if it wasn't.
Now we're gonna get to know these girls, and we're gonna say.
Okay, so now these girls were actually made during the cycle you made Francesco.
Right.
This time we are so stinking lucky.
We should start buying we should start practicing what we preach, which is start buying like some twin things and some twin outfits and like start decorating their room so that we could start to really visualize, because we feel good, but because we went through that battle, there it is a little tucked away, at least for me, and because everybody's always told us high risk pregnancy,
and I'm like, why are you saying that?
Twins high risk, because we were trained to think high risk with twins. I mean,
so it is high risk because it's multiples,
I know, but I
I'm
just
want
to.
I feel so good about
I feel
this.
good about it too. I just want to do a little law of attraction work of like decorating their room.
So when we leave here, do you want to go to the Target and get a baby twin outfit?
little
Maybe it'll finally get girls that'll let me put headbands on them again, because Camilla
that's it.
Like
They'll be your girly
bows.
ones for sure. So now we have our twins. I don't even know what the hell we were talking about.
Okay, right. I know. I want to make sure this is informative too. We're just chatting it up here.
Yeah, no, but it is. I think this is very informative. Like if I was watching this, honestly, like
when we were going through it.
Oh my God, I'd be like, look, they're not all what you see on Instagram of different couples, you know. For real.
Wait, so these girls were made when Francesco. Oh, so this round, right?
Yeah.
It literally worked the first time.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel like we went into it kind of the way we went into it with Carmela.
Joyful.
Oh, by the way, even though I never got my period ever again after that, I did find out that my estrogen was extremely low, like postmenopausal level.
And you went on a blood thinner because you had it, and that helped with the pregnancy.
Oh gosh,
that's very informative.
So
Make sure people get checked. Tell them.
So because I had failed transfers and I had a miscarriage with a normal embryo, who was tested again after the DNC, and it was definitely normal.
Yeah.
I got tested for a clotting disorder. And this is actually a common protocol, I think, with IVF patients. And I also have the MTHFR genetic mutation, which I've heard sometimes people go on Lovenox, which is the blood thinner for that as well.
Right, I remember all that.
And with Francesco, I was on this blood thinner my entire pregnancy. It's an injectable I do every night, and that's when we got pregnant. So I think going into this one, I felt like we found what worked.
Right.
And going into this, I was like, well, there's no reason why it's not going to work. I have a normal embryo. I know I need a blood thinner.
Yeah.
I'm with the best doctor.
Yeah. You advocated for
yourself, Dr. Barron.
Yeah, you advocated for yourself too. You have to advocate for yourself.
Have to advocate for yourself. Anyway, so then we did the transfer, prep for a few months, same thing, birth control, progesterone, estrogen, Lovenox, did the transfer, tested 4 days post-transfer, saw a faint line, so faint that you couldn't even see it when I showed it to you.
Right.
And you were like, I'll know it's true when I see a real line. But I knew I saw a line.
I know.
And then I went in for blood work. Then 2 days later, I went back. They take it again to make sure blood work doubles. That's how they know that you're not having like an ectopic or whatever. They just make sure that everything's progressing.
Yeah.
And that second time when I went in, I don't know why, but I left and I'm like, wonder what the chances are that these are twins. By the way, it's under 2%.
Oh, I thought it was 5%.
I think it's under 2%.
Identical twins?
Maybe
identical
it's 5%.
twins?
All right,
wow.
2 to 5%. I actually think different research will say different things, but 2 to 5% chances of this embryo after the transfer split.
Yeah.
So I actually think Dr. Barron said 2 to 5%.
Well, we put one in and they split.
But for whatever reason, when I got the blood work, I was like, I wonder if it could be twins. I started listening to episodes on YouTube as I was driving, like twin pregnancies, how do you know if you're pregnant with twins before the ultrasound, blah, blah, blah. But I never told you any of that.
Right.
You had no idea.
I would have been like, oh my gosh, Jamie.
So we go to the first ultrasound.
But it also is, wonder if we know.
This story was the best. We have to tell it.
All right, tell
So
the
one of
story.
the
Then we got to
girls-
wrap up this
I
episode.
know. So one of the girls that work in our fertility doctor actually babysits for us. We met her there 5 years ago when Carmela was born.
Right.
So she's
Our
in the
first
room,
babysitter.
and then the nurse
She was like a
practitioner
supermodel.
or the PA, I don't know what she is. She's doing the ultrasound.
Yeah.
I was so nervous because of the experience with Francesco. I was just so nervous
Right.
that we weren't going to see an embryo. I literally was having like a panic attack. She puts the thing in. What is that thing called? The stick
the
thing that
worst.
goes up your vagina.
The wand. Just call it the wand. People
She
know
puts
it as
the wand,
the
and
wand.
she's like, "Come down, look, it's right there. There's the sac. There's the da-da-da."
Now I'm holding
And then-
Jamie like this.
and I took
I'm
a
like,
deep
"It's
breath.
Okay. See, babe, there you go.
And then
There
she
you
looks
go.
at Eddie, who's
Everything's
our
good."
babysitter. She looks at Eddie and goes,
Do you see
you
what
see
I
that?
see?
and me and Lisa look at each other.
Are you seeing what I'm seeing?
Our hearts literally stop. She's like, we're like, what? She's like, no, everything's okay.
I thought it was
Eddie,
some type of funky.
Eddie, do you see what I'm seeing? She said it again. And we're like, what is
Everything
going on?
was slow motion there. And
It
it was
was like-
dark.
Oh my
The
God.
room
This
was
felt like
dark,
10 minutes,
and
and it was like a 2-second thing. And she's like, well, there's one sac and there's the other. And we were
Yeah.
like, Lisa starts panicking.
Oh my God, I don't know what happened.
I was like, oh my God, I'm a psychic. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing.
She made me start screaming with the wand moving around. and
Yeah,
then
like
she's
me, my vagina's like out.
Look at my
everywhere.
YouTube search history.
I'm like,
Look,
Lisa, I swear I knew it. How did I know this?
Look at my history.
I was so shocked that
I'm
I
like,
knew.
We're never gonna
Lisa's
sleep.
like, you're gonna die.
That's
I
because
don't
the monitor's
understand.
by my bed every
it's
night.
A high risk,
Please.
It's a high risk
Haven't slept in
pregnancy.
6 years.
This is not good for your system. How are you going to hold 2 babies? Oh my God, how are they going to sleep? Oh my
I
God,
think-
we're never going to sleep
How
again.
are we
How are you going to
gonna
feed them?
sleep?
Blah-da-da-da. Oh my God, they're both going to go to college. Blah-da-da-da. Like literally went off the fucking deep
Then
end.
I took a deep breath.
Then you took a
and
deep
then
breath.
I-
Thank God the girl that was doing the ultrasound has twins. So she
Yeah,
was able to talk them off the ledge a little
That's
bit.
right. That's so
And
funny.
then ever since then, the next few weeks we went back for another ultrasound, and everything is progressing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. I think this episode
Amazing.
it was a lot of our story, but I do feel it was very
Yeah.
informative though, because you know what? If we were watching this when we were having a family, or even if it was now, we were just watching of like another couple that was, you know, sharing their actual journey with pure truth, it is informative, you know? So this was good. I'm really glad we talked about this and opened up a lot.
Yeah. Do you think
I don't think we shared a lot.
Do you think,
of
I
this
know like we're
before.
very big into manifesting and visualizing.
What'd you
Do
say?
We're very big into like manifesting and visualizing.
Yes.
Do you think that played a role in how things turned out? Do you think it helped? Do you think it?
I think our energies overall have been just lighter and more joyful going into this.
I agree.
And knowing that you have been YouTubing twin pregnancies, I think that also played a part. And
Right. So was I intuitive about it,
I
or
just
did
think
I
that our
manifest it?
relationship lately, I would say the past month and a half, you know, putting a lot of work in, you know, always, especially lately. I think it's been good. So I think it also helped make this experience more joyful. So yes, my answer is yes.
And I would say that there is like a lot of research on visualizing, and I did visualize before and directly after.
To me, it was done.
If you go on YouTube, like there is visualization, like meditations on an embryo actually like implanting in your body.
Yeah.
And I did do that.
And you had the audio. You used ChatGPT to create the audio story. For you.
There
Yeah.
was like so.
Yeah,
I did
we
do
do
a
that.
lot
We
of
do a lot of,
visualizing
like, yeah.
surrounding this.
Mhm.
I also, a few months before, I started adding in my journaling daily that we had a beautiful baby born.
Yep.
And everything worked immediately. So
Yeah.
I did do that. So I did go
that
into it
too.
also feeling very certain that everything was going to work.
To me, it was done. It wasn't like it was like a memory. That's how
Yeah.
much I just felt so certain of like.
And we always, by the way, had vision boards. I just read something that reminded me of this. We haven't talked about this since we
What?
found out we were pregnant.
What?
Um,
Oh, the
our
4
vision
kids.
boards always had 4 kids on it.
We should pull them out. We have vision boards from the past
wonder
10
if it's
years.
3 girls
10
and a
years ago, our
boy.
vision board was like to make $500 a week.
So true.
In the apartment.
It's so true.
My shitty ass apartment.
It's so true.
Man, life is good.
think we
That's our
touched-
Wi-Fi password. What life is good.
Oh my gosh. Yeah,
You
right.
gotta tell yourself that, you know.
Yeah.
So I like this episode.
We
Thank you
touched
for,
base on a lot of the stuff
Yeah.
that I wanted to talk about. I just want to make sure that was. Oh, you know, this is very random out here.
What's that?
One thing I wanted to say is like after transfers, I feel like somebody would have this question. A lot of people ask if you should be on bed rest or not.
Oh,
So I was not on bed rest. However, I was very careful.
You were very happy.
It's also important to move. So one thing I did
I made you very happy after that.
I got a foot massage the day of my transfer.
I took care of you completely.
Yeah, you did. You've been amazing this pregnancy.
Thank you.
You really have been.
I
totally
learned a
different
lot.
than
There's
the other.
Lisa from pregnancy 1. There's Lisa from pregnancy 2. I told you I'll always put in work for myself. You know, I'll
even
always
now,
try
like
to better
last
myself.
night, anytime you're like you're tired, go to sleep. I'll put the kids to bed. And I'm like, I feel so guilty. Or you're like, just order in tonight. You don't have to cook.
I'm just leading a lot more with love versus like trying to win. And I definitely feel more heard lately because you said one thing that you never said in 12 years. You said, I know I'm giving you an attitude. You said that to me for the first time. That's all I needed.
I think I knew.
You know, that's all I
knew the transfer
wanted.
worked when I looked at you and I was like, I'm sorry, but I fucking hate you today. I think I'm pregnant.
But you never acknowledged.
Yeah.
That was
well,
a
I'm
big
growing
deal.
too. You said a million times, both the last episode and this episode, like how you've grown so much as a wife.
You have grown also,
right?
too,
And
100%.
as a mom. But I definitely do my best too to like I
know
try
you
to
do.
grow. And I know it's not easy like dealing
I
with
know
me being
you.
pregnant. I
But
also
that's why I
feel
wanted to
bad that you're
acknowledge,
like
though.
doing so much physically with all the kids.
I don't give a shit. I really don't
You know?
care. It
But
is what it
anyway,
is at
so
this point.
after the transfer, though, even though I wasn't like on bed rest, I did chill the first day. The second day and the third day, I made sure to just like move around because I do think it's important for blood flow. And then I went back to exercising pretty quickly. However, I'm like not. The doctor told me I can't run because of the twins, high risk.
I want to just make sure you just stay
But
very
I've been
light
moving my
and
body.
stress free, though.
Yeah, I think it's important to move your body to make the 2-week wait.
And that goes back to focusing on you, but also being with the right partner too, where you feel like you can kind of, you know, share when you feel like shit openly, you know. So, yeah. Anything else you want to cover in this episode? What's next episode?
I don't remember.
All right. Well, let it happen organically, but we
remember.
got a lot to talk about. And I'm excited.
Do you have any advice for people? I have one thing that I was thinking.
You could lead with yours, and then I'll lead with mine for sure. Yeah, sorry. Okay.
You want to go first?
No.
I was just gonna say that it's a hard journey, and I don't expect it to be easy. We're like people think we live in La La Land sometimes, and maybe sometimes we do, but we're still realistic.
Which I always want to.
So I think just
have that.
Remember a few things. One, you should live in La La Land. Because that's how you create the dream life, right? Like you always want to think big because big is possible.
Yep.
Number one. Number two, you could still be realistic while living in La La Land, right?
Oh,
I knew my body was giving me a hard time, but keep your eye on the prize. And three, it is so worth it. And being a parent is the most.
Yeah.
God, I can cry just think. I can't believe I'm pregnant again.
I know.
But I just like it's the most amazing gift. Holding a baby, carrying a baby is the most amazing gift.
And then building your tribe, building your team.
Oh my God, having your squad. It's
and one day they'll be 30.
Our
parents,
have so many
we were babies
grandchildren.
at one point. You know,
I don't know any lesbian grandmas. Do you?
Probably they're out there.
I'm sure they're out there, but I don't know any.
No, I don't know any.
I'm gonna be the first one I know.
My aunt. I mean, none of this was accepted. So she didn't have kids, and I know she wanted them. You know, my uncle, if he was still alive, he would have wanted them too. But we're very blessed. We're very blessed.
So do you have any advice for people getting ready to start
I think
this
advice
journey?
for people, 2-mom families or 2 moms trying to build or a queer couple trying to build a family is make sure that you let your ego go as much as possible and your pride go when somebody else is carrying, you know, and doing the process and carrying the baby. Because I wish I did that more. I wish I let go and realized it's a different. I have to be a different person for these next 9 months, and also you grow like that too when you let your ego go more and you just support your partner and let yourself go. Yeah. So I would say do that. Yeah.
Great.
That's my advice.
Well, I hope you guys learned something about the IVF process today. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been so fun. I'm so excited to continue this journey, and I hope that everyone learns a lot. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to discuss, send us an email, send us a DM, and we look forward to hearing from you.
That's it.
Bye.
Thank you.
That's it.
I didn't do ciao.
No, I noticed.